Welcome everybody to the first official episode of 100% Theory, 100% Practice. And today we are going to talk about what is the self. The question is not who I am, but what I am. So I really appreciate you being here. Please show your support by subscribing to my channel or sharing my video with somebody else that you think might be beneficial for them. So to start with, let's have a recap to the intro week. What we had talked about was understanding what is the self and how you can find out more about the self. This week I would like you to rethink about the homework of last week, which was to notice the part of you that knows everything. You noticing the side of you that thinks, you're noticing the side of you that comments and has an interpretation or an analysis on basically everything that you encounter in life. So I am curious about how that went for you. Send me a message, drop in the comments, or maybe you can just reflect to yourself about what you have heard, because it has just been 1 week, and whenever you do personal deep work like this, the results are not generally immediate. So 1 week within the time frame of a life is basically very short. So as we begin, I would like to start what makes us not learn about ourselves first is basically an inability to listen. I wanted you to get in touch with the voice that has an answer for everything, because that's the part of you that is the obstacle in front of you truly listening to somebody else or something else. It could be the nature, it could be the traffic, it would be somebody telling their opinion or life experience with you. So why do we talk about the self is to understand that how you communicate or how you see the world around you. I am in a little while starting to share my screen. It is nothing fancy, just so I can structuralize the way I'm talking. It is nothing that you actually have to see. But when we talk about the self, you have to think of a camera. Like this is how we learn about the universe, right? I am hoping that you are seeing my shared screen here. Let's see. Let me move things around. There we go. Okay, I have a nice whiteboard here. So basically, what is the self is this? This is the world. That's not the world. This is the entire universe as we see it. Nice round world. And then this is your eye that you see the world through. Okay? This is basically your perspective on the events of life. And then you are sitting here. You are here. You think that this is your eye. And then through this eye, you can basically see the world around you. However, as we are living in the space, and then the world is like, or the point of focus is just one thing, you have to understand that this entire place is the universe. And basically, your understanding of this specific thing is immediately related to the position that you are in space. This is the first thing. The point of vision, the perspective, is very important in terms of how you understand what's going on all around you. And the second issue is how you are, your experience. So basically the point of perspective is your space, and then the experience that you have is the point of time, because over time you have gathered experiences and you are in this specific place. That is why you are seeing this event in that lens. I mean, a very basic, a childlike example can just be that In a safari, you see a tiger eating a gazelle. I mean, poor baby gazelle, poor mother lost the baby. But at the same, this is a cliche example. That's why I'm telling it like this. But at the same time, what about the pups of the tiger? Everybody has to eat. So when you detach all the attachments and emotions out of it, then basically you can have a better vision of what is this self. So before we can learn about the self, maybe we can learn what gets in the way of that self is basically your attachments, your avoidances, and your instinct to survive. Basically, it is also something your. Let me recalibrate it. Let's keep it with these guys for now. So, what gets in the way of that true self is basically your attachments and avoidances. Basically, your personal preferences are getting in the way of you becoming something way greater than you are. Isn't that funny? But as we go through, we are talking about this lenses that I was drawing on this other board. But basically, this lens has its own category. So this is what I'm going to talk about. I made these circles and triangles here. So basically, if I can draw, I cannot draw here. But basically, the outer layer is your soul. So for purple, we will say that it is the area of soul. And then for red, we are going to say the area of mind and the self. Let's just put it as the self. And then the last diamond shape is basically the body. And we are going to keep it simple as that. So basically, yourself is something in between or a medium between your body and your soul. It does have the qualities of both or the aspirations of both. Like, think of it this way. It is yourself that makes you go eat food. So this self recognizes that the body is hungry and then takes action to feed it, nourish it with food. This is a necessity. You have to understand. But what can be problematic here that we are going to talk later on is identifying this self then with your body. Because your body has needs and your soul has needs. And then you in the center, yourself, has to cater equally to both of them. This is exactly why the name of this podcast is 100% both theory and practice. If you identify too much with your body, then basically you will never have enough food because you will not be in touch with the real sensations that's coming from your stomach, whereas you just want to eat and eat and eat, and the more you eat, the more hungry you're going to get in a way, because at that point that unsatiable hunger is not coming from the stomach itself. It's not. Then it is yourself that is trying to maybe you are sad. That's why there's emotional eating. Your soul, the bigger part of you, is drained and it needs nourishment, and yourself doesn't really know how to nourish the soul. So basically it is coming all the way down and then making up with means of maybe eating food or doing substances or just any way of coping mechanism that has worked for you before. But the problem with coping mechanisms is they don't work forever. So you might just have to find something new which will work better for you. So going beyond this, understanding that yourself is a medium between you and the, or like the energy and the material. One thing that I would like to draw a parallel or a story is the creation of the self. I have to draw my understanding from ego and the Eastern more traditional or Indian understandings or my own religious beliefs. And some story that I heard about the self is this: when God created the universe and everything, He created the self before the self was in the body, and then asked whether this self, this nefs, that's the Arabic version for it, would like to co-direct the entire universe. And then the self, the ego said, no, I don't need you. So knowing this is kind of relieving in one side, because when you look at life, you know that each and every person has a capacity to go beyond and above their possible means. That's what it means to me. So if I think all grandiose to myself, then in a way I can feel like, oh, I can overtake the world. But you have to witness that part of you too, and maybe either accomplish it or exhaust it. I don't know. Everybody has to go through their own journey. Without diving in too deep to the other parts, staying with the self, the biggest thing that you can learn about the self is basically judgments. You have to think of judgments. I have very bad drawing skills. So basically, there's a line between you and the world. Let's say this is you, the self, and this is the world. So basically, the world is nothing but a reflection of you. It's just an inverted image. So no matter what, if you think, let's talk about anything. If you think a tree is beautiful, basically you are looking at the tree with beautiful eyes. And if you think a house is bad, then basically you are looking at the house with bad eyes. It's not as simple as that, but think of it this way. This is how you are, and then this is where the world is. So if you are looking at the world with straight eyes, basically you are going to see the world in those straight eyes. And if you are looking at the world upside down, I am just blubbering here. Let me hold it together. Let me come back to the judgments. When you are actually thinking of judging the world, what it happens is you are witnessing what you think about the world. This is very simple for me in terms of teaching or in terms of judging other people. The second I start to judge somebody, that either shows a lack of empathy or a point of work focus that I have to focus on. I have to look within me and then understand why I had to judge that scenario accordingly. And as you move along, as I move along, let me talk about me more. You understand that all the concepts and the judgments and what you think is right and what you think is wrong is basically so fleeting. So remember that point of you in one place observing something else. Your point changes all the time. And just like your point in time is changing, your experience is changing too. And life basically becomes a process of slow deaths. You know, the part of me that led my life perfectly for 4 years back in some years is dead now. Or maybe a better word is exhausted. So I lived through that character, that identity, and now I have to move on, which is called growing. But when you say growing, it sounds like like good things are coming in. But basically, we all have what we need, and we have redundant stuff. So what we need to do is allow life to kill whatever doesn't really belong to us in the first place. This is like a process of weeding. This is very important for farmers especially, because the most important thing if you are trying to harvest food is make sure that your soil is ready for the crop, not for weeds. So over and over and over again, you just have to go out to the field and then pick up little leaves, pick up little leaves, pick up little leaves. And this process is never really over. Knowing from my own farming experience, it never is really over. Even when the plants that you want to grows bigger than the weed, you still have to weed the garden. So that is the beauty. That is the beautiful thing. First and foremost, everybody has to take a nice deep breath because the work is everlasting. No one of you is supposed to sit down and then attain enlightenment. You know, if that is going to happen, it is already a divine thing. It's already happened. It's already going to happen. Like, you don't have to do anything about it. So let's leave that divine moment of enlightenment to the divine. And in the meanwhile, let's do what we need to do. Little, little reading every day. The most important thing in this reading process is that the most important currency you have in this journey is time. And time you don't get back. So as you still have time, keep observing. And this week's point of thinking is, where are all these coming from? Where is all these thoughts, actions coming from? What urges you? You know, the answer can be as simple as, why did you eat? Because I was hungry. You know, why did you help that person? Because I felt sad for them. These are important things. Why did you cry? Because I was angry. I'm just making it up. Why do you do what you do? And this is not in a justifying way. I don't want you to justify anything. I just want you to think about what makes you do things. And the underlying thing that I'm actually trying to wrap around the head is, the actual point is, how do you choose? Because again, time is limited, and each and every day you are doing something, you are deciding on doing something. You know, if your attention goes to some place, if you are not aware of this, basically I am telling you how rich you are. I'm telling you what kind of means of wealth you have, because every time you turn your head to your phone, you turn your head to the computer, to turn your head to this guy speaking on YouTube, or to this person saying something, basically you are using your material, your spatial source, your time and energy, and investing something. If you are not aware of this, basically you just pretend like there is no choice in life. So my point of closing this week is that, choice. How do you choose? Because if you go around thinking that you don't really have a choice, basically you are living a life that's not yours. And you live your life because let's accept that I am on YouTube and this is a private public broadcast. So in order for you to listen to this, you have a certain level of life security and comfort. So how do you choose? You know, how do you think of the actions of your life? Are things happening to you, or are you doing it? In order for us to understand who you really are, or it's not my job. My job is to understand who I am, and your job is to understand who you are. So in order for you to do that, you really have to understand in what role you see yourself and you have put yourself in. We are going to dive a little bit deep into these kind of things with childhood experiences, with inner child, with really mastering the power of self-will. But I'm trying to keep my mental tentacles relatively manageable, and see how these go. So one more time, listen and notice your relationship with choice. Are you living your own choice? Or you don't even think that you have a choice? Well, that will be it, everybody. Thank you so much. Pay attention to yourself, because one last story that I wanted to tell is the creation of the world, right? I do believe in God, and one inspired story is that in the beginning, when there was nothing, there was a dark green treasure, hidden treasure. It's just in my imagination. It's dark green and hidden treasure, and there is nothing else around it. So, with the light of God and that intensity of that light, when God puts it light on this hidden treasure that's like a green gem, it starts to melt, and from its melting, there comes all the heavens and the stars and the universe that we cannot see. And then it comes all the way down to the earth, and down to the human, and down to the us. So what it signifies for me, why this story is important for me, is that in each and every one of us there is a hidden gem, and this nobody talks about. We all talk about, as the popular, we all talk about what is common, like jobs, this and that, but we never really talk about what is that thing that makes you unique. I would like you to think about it. I have more thoughts that's rushing through my head, but those are for some other times. I hope this was helpful for you. And if it was, maybe share it with somebody else. Let's send a message.